Our Hangout is live. Hi, everyone. It's Heather Van Cura. We are having our second Adopt-a-JSR for Java EE meeting of 2017. So this is very exciting. We have 4 spec leads here with us today. So I'm going to introduce them to you. Well, first of all, there's me. I'm just facilitating the call for you today. So I'll be taking any questions at the end. So Heather Van Cura from the Java Community Process JCP Program Office. And today we've got 3 JSRs to start with. So we'll start with JSR 371, which is the MVC JSR. So we've got Ivar Grimstad here with us. Hi, Ivar. You want to say hi and introduce yourself?
Hi there, and thank you for having me here.
All right, thanks for joining us. New spec lead of JSR for MVC specification 1.0. And we also have Antoine Savo-Durand with JSR 365 CDI 2.0, really popular JSR with the Java user groups. Lots of Java user groups are very interested in using this technology and finding out how they can help. So hi, Antoine. You want to say hi to everyone?
Hi, Ever. Hi, everyone.
Thanks for joining us. And we also have Neil Griffin, who is the JSR spec lead for JSR 378, the very long titled Portlet Bridge for Java Server Faces specification. And I think there's a couple of numbers in there as well. Hi, Neil. Can't hear you. You're on mute, I think, Neil. Yeah, we still can't hear you. You're on mute. We can come back to you. Hopefully you get that fixed before we get to your JSR. And we also have the platform specification JSR for Java EE8, Linda DiMichele. So Linda, we have you on the line. I know your audio is working this time. You want to say hi to everyone?
Yeah, this time I think so. Yeah, hi everybody.
All right, thanks for joining us. I'm glad you can make it. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and mute my microphone, and I'm going to turn it over to Ivar, who's going to get us started with MVC and what the community can do to help out with bringing this JSR to completion and final release. Ivar.
Thank you, and thanks for having me here. I know MVC is not actually a Java EE8 JSR, but I'm happy to be here anyway. So I'll just switch my slides and show you a bit of update on MVC. So this is a short introduction to MVC 1.0 and a little bit pointers to what's going on and how you can help us to bring this JSR in and what we need help from the community to do this. So let's look at it. So first of all, I'll just briefly show one slide of what is JSR 371 or MVC 1.0. And that is very simply explained by this small slide of Java code. And as you see here, it's highlighted in blue a new annotation called @controller. And that is what gives this application the indication that this is an MVC controller. And as you also see, it's JAX-RS all over the place. So MVC is building on JAX-RS, which means that everybody who knows JAX-RS can use this and just code away the same way as they usually do with JAX-RS applications and just add the flavors for creating an MVC application. And we also leverage CDI, so you can use CDI just as you do in any Java EE application. And also we're building on existing view technologies. And in this example, you can see I just returned an JSP page, and we also support facelets, and you can also build very easily your own view engines to support any view technology of your choice. So this code actually shows how simple and easy it is to create pretty decent MVC applications with very little new knowledge. So what's the status of JSR 371? We have an early draft review too, which was actually it's been out there for a while. We hope to get started with working more on it now, but you can get it downloaded from the JSP.org page. And we have a reference implementation supporting this early draft review called OSARC, which you also can find on java.net. So a bit of history about the MVC specification. It started back in 2014 with the first proposal, and started work pretty much directly after that. And we continued working with in the expert group throughout 2015, and we launched the EDR2, as you see, in October 2015. Since that is kind of been a standstill until Java 1 this year, when the revised plan for Java EE was launched, and MVC wasn't a part of that, and that made us kind of unhappy, and we started kind of trying to influence the community and try to get things going on. And Oracle was so gracious to actually propose to transfer this JSR to the community, and we were discussing a little bit about who and how and when we should do it, and we came up that I could be a good choice for the specification lead for a start. So we had a transfer ballot in the executive committee in the EC, and it was voted through in January this year. So I'm very happy to be the new spec lead of MVC 1.0. So the current activities we're working on now is that we have had the transfer approved by the executive committee, and thanks to everybody who voted there. We are still in the process of finalizing the transfer. That means that Oracle Legal is working on it. I'm not very much involved in that details. I get some questions once in a while, but it's still they have to produce some document, I guess, that I should sign, and then it will be transferred. There's still work in progress there. We have started a little bit on setting up the new infrastructure since Java.net has been closed down in April. And we also have started a little bit discussions about how to license the artifacts from this JSR. So I'll talk a little bit and show what we've done on the infrastructure part. And we will be moving, or we have actually been on GitHub for quite a while, and the MVC spec organization on GitHub is a direct replica of Java.net, so it's the latest code being there. So there's actually no work involved in transferring from GitHub to from Java.net to GitHub. We're already there. What we will do is to migrate the issues from Jira on Java.net to the GitHub issues. And we have tried out some migration scripts there, so it looks good. We have created mailing lists on Google Groups, and currently we are mailing in both lists, both on Java.net and Google Groups lists. But if you want to join and help us out, it's this JSR 371 users Google Group mailing list that is where you should go. It's open for everybody, and everything is public. We also will transfer the existing Java.net website to GitHub pages. Currently, we also have the domain mvcspec.org. It's not currently set up, but that's going to be the landing point for the MVC specification. So what about the Adopt-a-JSR activities? Right now, since we're not actually transferred yet, and we're just waiting for the final go, we can't actually do very much other than what we've done all the way. And what we need help to is just to spread the word, write code, write samples, try it out. You can find it on a GitHub application. Just download it. The EDR is public on Maven Central, so there are lots of samples out there, referenced from the GitHub pages and from our various members of the expert group have samples out there on their GitHubs. So just try it out, write code, file bugs, if there are any. and blog about it, write articles, write tweets, just give us feedback, what we're doing good, what we're doing wrong, or if you want to contribute in some way. What we do need is to have a logotype. I saw the last this live stream that Ed Burns in the JSF had this cool logotype created by the community. So we're going to do something similar. So if you're a creative artist out there, just create a logotype, and you'll definitely get a contributor role on the specification, and it will be attributed there. So please go ahead and draw, and we'll have a vote about it. We are having quite a deal of upcoming MVC talks and conferences around the world. First up now is DevNexus in Atlanta, which is next week. I'm also doing some presentations in Sweden and Germany, at JDIS in Gothenburg, at JavaLand in Germany, and also at Developer Week in Nuremberg, Germany in June. I think that on JavaLand we plan on having quite a many Adopt-a-JSR activities in the early adopters area. I'm working with the organizers to maybe set up some special event for us to have some Adopt-a-JSR information, and we probably want to make that sort of a kickoff for getting started. So if you're going to JavaLand, just meet up with us and we'll get you started. So Ed Burns also had this cool slogan about the C in JCP for a JSF, and I want to replicate that and say that we are giving the control to the community for MVC. So that's our my suggestion for a slogan. So that's more or less what I had. So just remember, sign up for the mailing list and get the latest information. We also will have a Twitter handle. We actually have a Twitter handle. I just don't have access to it yet, but I will get it. We'll start tweeting. We'll start blogging, writing. We get the website up, and just follow us on the mailing list, and you get the latest information.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Ivar. I have a little echo here. Sorry about that. So you mentioned you were still open to having contributors, so that's cool. So people can join the JCP as an associate member and then nominate themselves to be a contributor on the MVC JSR. And then you also mentioned you're getting some web pages set up. Do you need help with that? Is that something that people through Adopt-a-JSR can help with, in addition to the other things that you mentioned in your Adopt-a-JSR section? Oh, you're on mute still.
Yeah, definitely. Every contribution is good, and while we're working on how we're going to do the licensing and stuff, we're considering having some kind of contributor agreement or something, just to make sure that the code is everything is, there's no problem whatsoever with the code. But for the website, it should be pretty straightforward.
Okay.
So any help there? I also want to mention that Christian Kaltebot, which is an expert group member, I hope he's listening here today. Hi, Christian, if you are. Thank you very much for your work here. He's helping me a lot, and he will probably, or most likely, be going with me as a co-spec lead on this one. So we'll just get the transfer done, and then we'll work out the details and everything. So he's doing a great job, and everybody else on the mailing list, thanks.
Okay.
We appreciate it.
All right. Well, I'm excited to see this JSR finish. And as you mentioned in the beginning, you know, this JSR isn't to be included as part of the platform, but it still is a JSR for Java EE 8. It's
yes, it is.
Yeah, it's not included with the platform, but it's still, I still consider it a Java EE JSR. So I don't think it's necessary that everything be part of the platform. That's perfectly fine. And things like JCache aren't part of the platform, but they're still very successful JSRs, and you see multiple compatible implementations of those. So it's great. So thanks for doing the hard work on this.
Yeah, and as you said, it is based on Java EE technologies, and currently the reference implementation is tied into Jersey, so it will only run on Glassfish or Payara. So what we will do is also to kind of loosen up that dependency to make it portable reference implementation.
Okay. All right. So I encourage people to get involved with that one. Still a lot of work to do. Now we'll move on next to JSR 365, CDI 2.0, led by Antoine, and he's on the call. He'll tell us a little bit about how you can get involved. They have a public review open, so further along stages at this point, but there's still some things that I think the community can do to help finalize this and help with the adoption of it. So I'll turn it over to Antoine.
Okay, thanks, Eva. Okay, I've got it.
Yep, I can see you.
Yeah. Okay, so as you said, we started the public review a few weeks ago, and it should be enter the ballot at the beginning of March. Do you see my screen?
I don't see your screen. I see just you. Yeah. So the screen share.
I think I missed the screen share stuff.
Just push the green little arrow on the left, and it should screen share. It's not working.
I try, but nothing happens. So I'll do it orally. I'll do it by voice. So
okay.
If you go to the if you go to the GCP page for CDI2, you'll see that we are in public review right now. Started at the last day of January. It will this public review will end at the beginning of March, and we'll have our public review ballot between the 7th and 20th of March. So we are in a process of finishing this important GSR. So to cover all the features that are in the GSR, so I had nice slides that I cannot show you. So what I can do is to share the link to the post. I can send you to you either and all the participants. So in this post, you'll see all the features that we added to CDI2, and most of them are quite important for having a review for third-party people. The first point is that we split the spec in 3 parts because we wanted to add the Java SE support, and the spec in CDI 1.0 and 1.1 was very integrated with EGB, servlet, etc. So all kind of Java over spec, and we needed to have a part for CDI core, so all the features that are available on CDI for Java SE and CDI for Java EE. And so we created the CDI core part, a CDI SE part, and a CDI EE part. So the previous spec that you know, the previous spec document that you know, in fact, today is split in 2 parts. You have the CDI core and the CDI EE. I'm taking a lot of time here to explain that because we really need people to read the spec and review that split to check that we didn't miss something in the process of splitting. So as I said, another nice feature is that we had the Java SE support in CDI. So before that, SE was supported at implementation level. So in the reference implementation world, you have SE support. In the Apache 1 Open Web Beans, you have the SE support, but not in the spec. We hope that putting that in the spec will make over specification more confident to rely on CDI, because before that we had the answer, okay, we like CDI, but as our spec is working on Java SE and your is not, we cannot totally rely on CDI. So now with the support of Java SE, we hope that there will be more adoption from other spec on CDI and from a third-party framework. After that, there are a few new features that were very requested by our users regarding events. So in CDI, you have an event bus, and we added the possibility to order your event. So you can decide the order where the observers I called. So you can add an annotation coming from the commands annotation specification, JSR 250, and you use the add priority annotation to give a priority to your observers. Another nice feature that was very requested is the asynchronous event feature. So now you can call your event in an asynchronous way using the Java 8 new API, using the completion stage API from Java 8. So you can use this feature to initiate an asynchronous operation and get the completion stage to build the pipeline started from an event. We also thought about making the portable extension development easier. So if some of you already developed portable extension, you know that you very often have to create a new metadata piece for your extension. You have to create an annotated type, a specific being, etc. So we added some helpers to help you create this metadata with the configurator feature. We also add a new feature regarding observer method to be able to veto them, so to forbid their registration in the portable extension. And we add also the possibility to apply interceptor on producer. So producer has specific bins in CDI. It's a field or a method that you annotate with the add produces annotation, and it creates a bin. But this bin was a kind of how to say, second-class citizen. You weren't able to apply an interceptor on this bin. Now it's possible. We provide API to add interceptor on producer. That's a nice stuff. And in all the API, we work on alignment on Java 8 feature, stream, lambdas. We also support repeating qualifiers and things like that. Sorry for the lack of slide, but you can go to the post on the CDI-spec.org website to see all this new feature. So from now, what do we need from the Java user group? We need people to test the reference implementation, of course, because we already released release candidate of the reference implementation. So if you go to the CDI-spec.org website, you'll see how to work with CDI on Java SE, and you'll see how to use the reference implementation with an application server, which is the Red Hat application servers Wildfly, but at the end it will be, of course, in the reference implementation application server. But now you can test Java E7 application with CDI2 and test the new feature and give your feedback on this new feature. So that's important. We already have a few feedback from bugs from here and there, and or clarification needed in the spec, but we are very eager to have feedback from users here. And of course, we need people to read the spec and check that we didn't forget anything in the spec. That's the one important point, because I know that people are not very, how to say, eager to open a long document and read through it, especially if they already read the previous version, but it's rather important to have this job done. And what to add? I think it's all for us. So we know that we'll be ready for Java 8. We were very thrilled to be part of this new platform version, and hope that other spec will have a deeper adoption of CDI, and we are ready to help other spec lead to work on that.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Antoine. So yeah, I think at this stage, like you said, testing out the reference implementation is really important. So that will help the Java user group members to get experience with the technology, and will also, help with adoption. And then in the end, also help you as well as a spec lead to get some feedback now, so you can make any corrections that need to be made before the JSR is finalized in the coming months. So really key. And the point you mentioned about the specification, again, a little bit daunting. No one wants to read hundreds of pages, but one thing I always encourage Java user group members to do is go ahead and say on the public discussion of the CDI list that you're going to read this section, and then different groups can pick different sections, right? And then all the sections could get read and proofread and make sure that everything's accurate. So again, maybe not the most glamorous job, but still really important part of getting a JSR finished. And I think spec leads can use all the help that they can get. So hope we get some takers on this one. Let us know, and we'll send out the links in the comments too, where people can find all of these things.
Okay.
So great. Great work. Keep up the good work. You ready to get it finalized there? We'll move on now to our third JSR that we're going to talk about today, JSR 378 by Neil Griffin. So this is one led by Neil's company, LifeRay. So I'll hand it over to you, Neil, and hopefully we can hear you now. I'm going to go ahead and mute, and it's all yours. Oh, we still can't hear you. Neil, I could hear you in the beginning of the call, but I can't hear you now. Still can't hear you. He's gonna, why don't you, go ahead and drop out and then come back in and see. We'll see if we can hear you then. So just to, while Neil's dropping off and rejoining us, I'll let everyone know that we're going to have our next call on March 1st. Hi, Neil.
Hi, better?
Okay, we can hear you now. Great, okay. Go ahead.
That's good. Sorry about that. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. Let me share my screen. And can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Well, if you'd like to follow JSR 378, you can follow at Faces Bridge Spec at Twitter. I do have a few slides I'd like to talk about. Again, thanks for having me. My name is Neil Griffin. I work for LifeRay, and I'm the spec lead for JSR 378. And Heather was right that it's got a really long title. It is the Portlet 3.0 bridge for Java Server Faces 2.2 specifications. So you have to take a few breaths of air when you want to pronounce the title of this JSR. And our goal is, we're trying to define requirements for a Portlet bridge that will enable just a web app developer who doesn't know anything about Portlet technology to be able to deploy their JSF web apps as portlets with little to no modification. And we're building on top of JSR 329. This was a spec that was done by, it was led by Mike Friedman of Oracle. And so we've taken all of that work and we're building on top of that. Now we're targeting Portlet 3, which is about to go final. And we're also targeting JSF 2.2, which went final with Java EE7. Both of those technologies target Java EE7. And so that's what we'll be targeting as well. Here's what happened last year and so far in the first quarter of this year. Really, I'll start with Q4 of last year. We started doing a lot of testing with Portlet 3 because Apache Pluto, the reference implementation for portlets, became quite mature at that point. So prior to that, we were only able to test with Portlet 2. And then JSF 2.3, which is beyond the scope of this JSR, started going final. But we needed to make sure that should we have the opportunity to do a follow-on JSR to this, to do a bridge for Portlet 3 and JSF 2.3, that things were going to work. And so we needed to make sure that was the case. And so we did a lot of testing with JSF 2.3. And so now we're back to Portlet 3 and JSF 2.2 and continuing to analyze requirements and make the reference implementation work and build out the TCK. So this is our anticipated schedule. For this year, we hope to have an early draft review number 1 at the end of Q2, EDR 2 at the beginning of Q4. And then hopefully at this point in next year, in first quarter of 2018, we'll be able to submit another JSR for Portlet 3 and JSF 2.3. And then, so we'll have 2 JSRs perhaps going simultaneously if the executive committee would permit that. And then we would go final with this one and then resume work on Portlet 3 and JSF 2.3. So just to talk about the scope and the features of what the bridge actually does. At its heart, what it does is it marries the Portlet lifecycle with the JSF lifecycle. That's the purpose of the bridge. These are 2 different application lifecycles that take place, and they need to play nicely together. And I have a demo here of just what a JSF portlet looks like. Let me reload this page here. So what you're looking at here, this is actually Liferay Portal, and there is an application on this page. This is a portlet, but really it's just a JSF web app that the bridge is able to manifest to the user on this portal page. This is one of what we call our reference portlets. 801 is the postal code we have, and so you can play with this. This is freely available at Maven Central. All of our demos are. We've actually got quite a few demos available. Let me show you our demos page. These are all demos that we provide as part of the reference implementation, Liferay Faces Bridge, and I'll let you peruse that at your leisure. So we have a demo here. This is a plain JSF portlet. This page here is a Prime Faces version of the same application. So we support plain JSF, Prime Faces, Rich Faces, Ice Faces, and Liferay Faces Alloy. These are the component suites that at least the reference implementation is supporting at this time. The deliverables that we have are a spec document, and that's actually hosted at GitHub. If you go to the Liferay Faces Bridge API GitHub project, under the Liferay account, you'll see that there's a bridge spec folder. So if I click on bridge spec and then click on index, you can actually see the current version of the spec here with the GitHub Markdown rendering engine right here. We also have a showcase that we've built out. This is actually not one of the deliverables that we have, but if you visit liferayfaces.org, this is a component showcase that we have for just the plain JSF components. And so we use this in order to make sure that the bridge is working properly on both Liferay Portal and Pluto, the reference implementation. So the deliverables that we have is a spec document, the reference implementation, which is Liferay Faces Bridge, and a TCK. We also have some Maven archetypes that can be used. So if you were to visit the liferayfaces.org homepage, you can select your version of JSF and the component suite that you're interested in, and then either Maven or Gradle, and then there will be a Maven archetype generate command here for you that you can copy and paste into your terminal in order to create a portlet project. Now this all here is for JSF 2.2 and Portlet 2, which is for it's a JSR that never got filed, but we'll be making this work for Portlet 3 as we go to finalization for JSR 378. We have about 5,000 downloads a month of the different artifacts of the Liferay Faces project, and that's about 875 downloads a month of the bridge itself. Again, this is for Portlet 2 and various versions of JSF, JSF 2.2, 2.1, and even 1.2. These downloads are likely underestimated because what happens today is a lot of organizations will have a repository like Nexus or Artifactory in their company intranet, and so they'll download the artifact once, and then all of the projects from behind the firewall will be using that. So we do have some good adoption of the reference implementation, and we have about 15 to 30,000 views of the different blog posts. So we do estimate that the community is a good-sized community, and we hope that there's a Java user group out there who'd be interested in adopting us. So that's all I had for now. And I think I covered everything. So back to you, Heather.
Okay, cool. Thank you. So there's an echo now, but I think it just went away. All right. Well, those are some cool resources that you had, Neil. Anything particular that you'd like to highlight as the most important thing if there's a Java user group out there that wants to adopt JSR 378? Number one thing you could use help with?
Yeah, well, actually, we have a very big change in the design that's spec'd out in the bridge. Portlet 3 added a new phase to the Portlet lifecycle, which is the header phase. And so the JSF lifecycle used to be run in the render phase of the Portlet lifecycle. Now it's being run in the header phase, and that's actually quite a big change. And this is probably going to have to be spec'd out as a requirement. We're going to try and do it as an implementation detail, but it might actually have to be spec'd out. We'll have to see. Anyway, if there's a JUG that is interested in adopting us, that's kind of the main thing we need people to identify as to whether or not we're getting it right and whether or not it really should be spec'd out as a requirement. So that's the main thing that stands out for me right now.
Okay, great. I just checked the Twitter feed. That's why I was messing with my phone. I didn't see any questions yet. Linda, anything that you want to add in terms of overall help that can be used with Java EE8 from the JUG leaders interested in participating in Adopt-a-JSR? Anything that you want to share?
Just that I would reiterate your message, which is as much feedback as possible is always welcome. Start with the component specifications of EE8. That's where most of the details are. If you have some issues that span component implementations or specs, then those issues are best addressed to the users list for the Java EE platform spec.
Okay.
Yeah, more feedback is better, and we really encourage the JUG participation.
Okay. Great. Well, thanks to all of the spec leads who joined us today. 4 spec leads. That's awesome. Like I mentioned, this is our second call, so we will have a third call on March 1st. And I'm still finalizing the list of spec leads who are going to join, but we have 2 confirmed so far, which will be the JAX-RS JSR and the Bean Validation JSR. So Bean Validation just posted their early draft review, so they'll be sharing with you what you can do to help. So you can go back and listen to the call that we had a couple of weeks ago for things that you can do to get involved. All the things that we just talked about today, some immediate next steps you can do, and then we'll have a call in a couple weeks to talk about some additional things. So let me know if you need any more help, or like all the spec lead mentioned, go to their JSR pages. There's public discussion links there where you can communicate with them and let them know of your interest and involvement, and provide your feedback there, as well as find the links to the latest drafts. So the early access reference implementation and all the documentation and the specification that you can always just pick and choose different parts to read through and give your feedback. Real world developer feedback. That's really what we're looking for here. So we encourage your participation and involvement. And we're excited to get you involved and to bring all of these JSRs to completion in 2017. Any final closing words from the spec leads before we sign off? Everybody's on mute, so they're paying close attention to my instructions and to mute when you're not talking. So thanks again.
Thank you, Heather.
All right, enjoy the rest of your day or evening. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, Antoine. Bye, Ivar. Bye, Linda. Bye, Neil. Talk to you next time.
Bye, Ever. Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.